5 o'clock. I will call the December 14th, 2023 meeting of the Sumner County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Let the record show that all members are present. We have approval of the November 23 minutes. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. We have approval of the December 23 agenda. You will note that we have some changes. We need to vote to accept the 3 items from on Scotty River Road and then withdraw them. But we need to vote to accept that withdrawal and change our agenda. We have a motion and a second to accept the withdrawal of those 3 items and to amend the agenda accordingly. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. We have an amended agenda. Josh, we need to enter the meeting materials into the record, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record here this evening, I want to enter in Exhibit A, which is the Sumner County zoning resolution, the most recent version, which was last updated June 26, 2023, as well as a copy of the the agenda packet that was distributed to the board members and to the applicants this evening, and then a copy of the staff presentation, which we have on the screen here shortly as well. And we did receive various correspondence on the items that have been withdrawn, but we won't enter those in the record, Mr. Chairman, since those have been withdrawn from the agenda.
That being said, we'll move to the regular agenda. Tracy and Eddie Mance are requesting a special exception regarding accessory dwelling unit at 312 Fairfield Road in Bethpage. Josh?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as you know, this is a request for a special exception related to a proposed accessory dwelling unit. What they're requesting is an exception to the design and occupancy standards for accessory dwelling units, found in Chapter 11, Section 1101 of our zoning resolution. This is a 504-foot structure by our measurements that's proposed to be used as an accessory dwelling. What we're doing on this one, Mr. Chairman, is essentially adhering to a past practice. When we have folks that take what's basically a storage building and convert it into a dwelling, our practice in the past has been to forward those to the Board of Zoning Appeals for approval, since they're not your typical stick-built type accessory dwelling. And we do have a provision in the zoning code as well that talks about old manufactured homes and that kind of thing. I don't believe this is very similar to another item that was a structure that was brought into a lot. We had a question about whether it was a mobile home at that time for another approval that was on Fern Valley Road. I don't know if you remember that one. A few months ago, it was determined that wasn't a mobile home, but these are a little bit unusual, a little bit different than your typical mother-in-law suite, that kind of thing, which we can agree with the staff level, so we move forward these on to the BZA. This subject property contains 1.52 acres. The adjoining property owners were notified by certified mail, and it was advertised in the Gallatin News and National Standard on November the 30th this year. This is an aerial photo of the subject property. Here's the public notice that was placed in the newspaper. And here's the zoning compliance application. This is basically where they come in and they tell us what they want to do with their property, what they want to build. Based on their description and the information that they provided, we noted that an accessory dwelling unit permit is required. And a meeting was scheduled. And upon that meeting with this Ms. Young from my office, it was determined that this was something that's probably going to need to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So this is the special exception application. They're calling it a tiny home. We don't call it a tiny home. It's not less than 500 square feet. And so it is over 500 square feet. When you do an actual tiny home, it triggers a whole lot of other requirements in our zoning code. We go less than 500 square feet. So it did turn out to be in their interest that our calculations indicated this was a 504-foot structure. And not a tiny home. So the county zoning resolution provides guidelines for the approvals of these ADUs. In general, they can be approved by staff, provided that they meet all applicable requirements. Again, there are design occupancy standards that do require approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals. And what it says is that it must maintain architectural design, style, appearance, and character of the principal residence, be consistent with the visual and majesty of the existing facade, roof pitch, siding, and windows of the primary residence. As the primary residence is double wide, it's a little bit hard to make that decision, and this is a storage building that's been brought in, and so as I said, we do forward those to the PTA. So this is where it says that special exception is required. Here are photos of the subject property. You see the primary dwelling and the accessory dwelling in the back. I do believe, and Mr. Richard Graves, the land surveyor for the application, the representatives in testifying can speak to it. I do believe this is a structure that's been brought in and converted in order for a family member to live in, which is required by our zoning resolution. We don't generally permit accessory dwellings to be used as parental units and Airbnbs and that kind of thing. So this is the existing home floor plan. This is the proposed ADU. Again, it was brought in and it's been being permitted retroactively at this time, and the structure is existing. And this is the floor plan of the ADU. They do have a septic permit that indicates the primary dwelling and the accessory dwelling. And so that's really one of our biggest concerns with accessory dwelling units and our septic systems is whether or not that park. We don't want to create a situation where the existing septic tank is overwhelmed and causes issues for the neighbors and the public in general. This is the plot plan that was turned in by Mr. Graves. I don't have my laser pointer here. This is the Fairfield Road, as you see, is the road in front of the house. There's a little existing barn that's here. This is the home, and this is the AAD, it's accessory dwelling. You see the small dwelling behind the house. Setback requirements are complied with. Map soils areas are encroached in. So it appears to be good to go from that perspective. Signage, we just go out and take pictures. We went out on November 30th, as you see, and took some pictures of the subject property. There are required findings for special exceptions. Findings 1 through 4 here. 1 being special exceptions shall be granted provided that the board finds this design located and proposed to be operated so that public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. We don't anticipate any health or safety or other issues with this project. Again, that septic permit is the biggie there, and they do have a septic permit for what they're doing. And so there should be no issues in that regard. Will not adversely affect other property in the area in which it's located. The proposed appearance of the primary and accessory dwelling, I don't see any reason why that would adversely affect any other property in the area. Conforms to the applicable provisions of the resolution. It does appear to meet zoning requirements. With this BZA approval, it would be allowed to be permitted by the building and codes office at that time. And lastly, shall be located so as to be compatible with the surrounding area and provide safety. This use is residential, the area surrounding it is residential. As far as safety, all the permits and inspections by the county building and codes office will be needed. And the CO will need to be obtained. I would anticipate that the engineer's letter is going to be required on the structure in order to get a certificate of occupancy since it's already been built. Mr. Chairman, there's example motions on the screen. 1 being to find that the county's requirements for special exceptions here are met, and to approve it with conditions including that all requirements for ADUs are met on an ongoing basis. All the permits that I mentioned, as far as zoning permits, building permits, land service permits, will need to be obtained from the county departments, and it shall receive a certificate of occupancy from the county building and codes department. Example motion 2 is to deny this application on finding that the requirements are not met, and 3 is to defer if you guys don't need any additional information. So that concludes my presentation. As I said, Mr. Graves is here representing the property owner. just had Mr. David Cousins signed up to speak, but I think he signed up on the wrong sheet.
Oh, sorry.
So, no, we don't have anybody signed up to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Graves, do you have anything to add to Josh's presentation?
I do not. If y'all have any
Does
questions?
the board have any questions of Mr. Graves? Thank you, Mr. Davis. We have a request before us. We've seen presentation, discussion, or motion.
I'll make a motion for, as example, motion 1 with AFUC conditions.
We have a motion on the floor for example, motion 1 with all conditions. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion? Signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 2. Unity, is that what that be, Doug?
Yes.
Unity Fiber LLC is requesting a special exception to construct and operate an unmanned telecommunications facility at 1975 Old Galveston Road 4. Josh?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as noted, this is another request for a special exception. The property owner is William and Virginia Bundle at this time. The applicant is Unity Fiber LLC, represented by Ken Horn. The approval of this request will allow the construction and operation of an unmanned telecommunications facility known as a point presence facility. That's what that consists of, is a 50 by 30 compound. Within that compound is a 220 square foot structure with a 100 kW generator on a 5 foot 5 by 12 pan. The subject property overall contains 2.5 acres, that you see here on the screen. That said, the applicant is proposing to subdivide this parcel. They have submitted a subdivision plat, but I'll show you what they're doing is they're purchasing this property, a piece of it, 40,000 square feet, which is the minimum lot size, from the Mongols in order to build this facility. The joint property owner is notified by certified mail, and it was advertised in the Galveston News and International Standard on November the 30th. This is the ad in the paper. This is an aerial of the subject property. This is the zoning compliance application that came to us. We did need additional information. We weren't quite sure what to make of it when they first came to us and applied for it. We've had multiple meetings with the folks. The folks at Kim and Horn have been very good to work with. They've been very responsive to the county's concerns. We've asked for numerous modifications on this project, and they've complied with everything that's been requested. Special exception request, we met with them and determined that this was a use that would require special exception from the County Board of Zoning Appeals. I think I got some slides later on, but we determined it to be what's called an essential services use. It basically corresponds to like a telephone switching facility, which you don't see the other much anymore, but you still see the buildings around little brick buildings on the AT&T and others used to do back in the day. This is similar to that in the fiber age, and essentially that's kind of what they're doing. It's a booster, I believe, where a fiber optic cable comes in the building and then comes out of it with the signal boosted. And so in their application, they just basically mentioned what it was that they were wanting to do, which is what we described here this evening. And then there it is, it was in there. What we have to do when we get a request is figure out what the zoning code says about it. Sometimes it doesn't say exactly anything about what's coming through because the world changes and new stuff comes along, but upon review, the telephone switching facility seems to be the most appropriate description because its function and what it does is basically identical in size and other characteristics is very similar to that. And so that is an essential service, is what we call that. When we look at essential services, in the rural residential zone, that does require a special exception. And then the county commission, in adopting a zoning resolution, imposes conditions on all special exceptions via adoption of that zoning resolution. And for essential services, there are 3 conditions that have to be applied. Number 1, it is that all such facilities shall have a minimum 50-foot setback from any public street or residential lot line. And so that they have complied with. They did have 40 on there first, and we asked them to change it to 50, which they did. They moved the building accordingly. It should be noted that on this piece of property, the rear lot line has a 30-foot setback, but that's because it doesn't have a residential property behind it, has railroad right of way behind it. And so it's our determination that complies with the intent. If there was a house behind it, then this project probably wouldn't work as what it did. But it does in that context. So they comply with requirement A. Requirement B is type 2 buffer yard has to be provided around the perimeter, and they have shown that on the plans. They'll be required to install it in the field as well. And then C, when an essential service activity is a sewer and water pump, no exceptions required. So that's really not applicable. So based on that, it looks like the county commission's requirements in the zoning resolution have been met with this application, and the BZA is authorized to approve it. This is the subdivision plat that I mentioned that was turned in. You see the model home place is here, and the parcel that they're carving off is here. And again, it is a 40,000 square foot parcel based on their surveyor's calculations. One of the other things that they did change was they initially came to the county and they were asking, they wanted to do it on about half an acre. So they didn't only had to buy whatever property they felt like they really needed. We looked at it and we lot size variances are something that we really don't encourage unless it's an absolute necessity where you have a grandfather kind of a situation or something like that. If you're going to create a new lot, we steer people toward compliance if possible. And we did that with these folks, and they did comply, and they purchased additional property from the property owner, so it's active on to do that. This is the plot plan, the survey plot plan that was provided by the applicant. I don't know that was included in the packet. We did notice that there wasn't a stamped survey plot plan in the plan set. We did ask for that yesterday evening, and they got it to us yesterday evening. And this just shows where the little building is going. Within the building envelope, you see the 50-foot setback here. You see the building is like a good distance away from this other property line and then the other property line with a 30-foot setback here up to the railroad right away that I mentioned. And then within the packet, I won't spend too much time on some of these unless you guys want to, but again, it's 120 feet from a residential lot line, which complies with that one standard I was talking about. They are proposing a 20-foot wide concrete or asphalt access drive. They initially asked if it could be gravel, but we did request the dustless surface, and that they have complied with that request in the plans. This is just an enlarged site plan showing this is the structure, and this is the generator. The generator doesn't require a building permit or anything. It's just accessory to the structure itself, which does require a building permit due to its use and its size. There will be a fence compound around it that will need to be screened. I'll show what that's going to look like here. These are building elevations. You see, it's very utilitarian, little utility type building. This is what it is. More elevations here. This is the screening or the landscape plan that they've turned in. You see the top 2 buffers are labeled here on the north and the south. And they did comply with our request to go ahead and put it on the railroad right of way side as well. If the BZA wants, you could also request to have additional screening along the frontage if the BZA wants to see that. And they did provide a planting schedule as well. This wasn't a requirement, they turned this in. This is just kind of showing what it's going to look like as you drive down Gallatin Road. There actually will be more screening and more landscaping planned around it than what you see here. But this just kind of shows you what this structure looks like. Just imagine some trees and other things planted around it. We went out and took pictures of the site, or I did a couple weeks ago. There is a creek that does go through the property, they'll need to protect that, any creek buffers and stay well away from any of that. This is an unmanned facility, and so flood risk is, it's not in a floodplain or anything like that. But any kind of flood hazard or anything, is something that the utilities gonna need to take into account, when they build this thing. It's not something that's for human habitation, it's not in a creek, but they will need to maintain those buffers. So required findings, we don't see any reason why this would be operated in a way that will endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. It's an unmanned facility, it'll have a very minimal presence and absolutely minimal traffic impact. We don't anticipate any adverse impact to the area. The property owner that's going to do it next door to it is selling the property to these folks. It's railroad right of way and other property around it. It does conform to all applicable provisions of the county zoning resolution. As I said, we've asked them to make numerous modifications that has resulted in a plan that does comply. And they do say as far as the need for the public convenience, and I would have to refer to the folks from County Horn, but they do say that this is a vital telecommunications improvement in order to facilitate fiber optic telecommunications, basically through the central United States. It will result in construction of a small building that will be well separated from other structures, and it's going to be setback requirements. The property has a good site distance along over Alton Road. There are no safety issues that are anticipated as a result of it. So next steps after the BZA, if the BZA approves it this evening, after that, the project may move forward, and the next step will be to obtain an administrative site plan approval from county planning. Should have an engineering staff as well. County engineer will need to plans approved. After the administrative site plan approval, we would issue a zoning compliance certificate, and then they can apply for a building permit and land service permit. Once they get those, then the construction can begin, and all required landscaping needs to be installed prior to final approval. So Chairman, there's example motion on the screen, one being to approve it, find the county's requirements are met, and to approve it with the example conditions A through C here, which require site plan approval, construction in accordance with the city plans, and obtaining a zoning compliance certificate, building permit, and land service permit. Number two would be to find that the county's requirements are not met, and to deny it, and three would be to defer it. So, Chairman, as I said, the applicant's representative from County Horn, David Cousins, is in attendance here this evening. Nobody else is signed up to speak.
I don't know that I have too much to say. I think Josh did a good job of explaining it. I think switch gear, phone switch house is a good explanation of what this is. Essentially, a fiber hut that, as fiber runs a long way to provide service across the central United States, you have to have a hut to boost the signal so that it can pass long distances. So this is a pretty essential cog in the wheel. It might seem like a really small shelter to most, but to Unity Fiber is a pretty key component in building out their fiber infrastructure. Any other questions for me?
Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
There will be a fence around it, but it's 50 feet off the road. Will it be lit? Will there be any lighting around it? And my question, I raised four boards, is there any way to keep, how tall is the fence so that no one can climb over it?
I believe it's 8 feet. All right, good. You had it earlier, that one was.
Okay, I didn't look that hard at it.
Yeah, I think it's probably hard to see.
I was just thinking it's in the dark.
I believe it's 8 feet, yes.
50 feet. I'm just thinking, can anyone get over the fence? Some bored kids. Sorry.
Gotcha, yeah. No, well, I guess to the lighting thing, that there shouldn't be any permanent lighting there. If someone has to go at night, they would have to use some lights and stuff.
Okay.
No, yeah, and 8 foot fence. I haven't had issues with that in the past.
Okay. All right.
Certainly, it's not going to rule out that as a possibility. But.
And they put fences in county's maximum height. That's as tall as they can make it without variance.
Well, I just didn't know if there was. I just don't trust bored kids. So there I said it. And if it's dark and wooded,
I have a question. not understanding how that exactly works, is this like, for a better term, inside like a server type arrangement that gives the fiber a boost? What type of device is actually?
Similar, so I guess I can't speak, and I'm not personally a fiber expert, but my understanding of it is similar to that, in that fiber, as it goes over a long distance, you can't run a fiber line from here to Virginia without having a boost cut in the middle so that the signal is increased, just as like, a power run, DC power run, you have to boost that, and it has loss over time. In fiber cable, it's not lossless.
But in fiber, is this all low voltage?
Yes.
Yeah, which minimizes the issue you have with some.
Correct, yeah, it's a very good.
Any other questions?
I have a question. I think it's pretty simple. When Josh mentioned the possibility of putting some landscaping in front of it on the roadside, you feel like there's space to do that? You got lawn space in the front of it, that was something we asked for.
Certainly, yeah, I think there's space. Yeah, it's kind of just like grass buffer between the front of the fence and the right of way.
Jim, if I could respond to that as well. I drive by the site once or twice every day of my life. But for any more additional landscaping, there's waste of money there.
I've got a follow-up question on that staff when we get into talking about it. I'm actually not asking to add landscaping. I'm sort of asking if we should move some landscaping from the railroad side to the front side where it would serve more of a purpose facing the road. That was where I was at.
And I totally agree with you. I don't want to protect the back of the site from the railroad.
And it says they're gonna put in a landscape buffer, I'm making them put a landscape buffer until y'all say otherwise. But I do understand what you mean, absolutely, yes, sir.
I agree with hiding it from the road if it's not going to be lit. So it would be less, no one would be as interested in seeing what was behind the trees. That's where I would go with that.
I guess to follow up on what I was saying, I guess I've got a question for the applicant and a question for staff, and for Josh. First, is it acceptable to take some of that landscaping that's on the railroad side and put it out front?
Yes, sir, the landscape, or I think it's in the landscape standards, right, it's also in the section of the zone code that just deals with special exceptions in general. The board of zoning appeals is allowed to modify or impose landscaping requirements as you basically see fit, in order to make a project less objectionable. So, yes, sir, I think you absolutely can.
So a follow-up question to that, for that, would you be willing to locate move some of that landscaping to distribute it more in the front? I don't say anything about how you do that. I will leave that to you and the staff to work out, but.
Yeah. Fine by me, yeah, absolutely.
That's all I'm
Any other questions? I'm ready for a discussion or a motion.
Sure, one other thing, could we get a condition, I should have put it on there, but this is not a structure that I believe is gonna need a CO or anything like that, would Mr. Wright, does this need a certificate of occupancy, do you think?
We would need to do a final.
Walkthrough, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so there will be a final sign off at the end then. So I was gonna ask for a set of as-built or something like that, but if we're gonna do a final walkthrough with codes, then disregard it, I'm good. Sorry.
For the record, staff said that there was no one signed up, but I still need to open the public hearing. Is anyone here to speak to this request? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Now I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I don't know if you've ever said to anybody that's trying to say anything, but I'll make a motion for like example number 1 with A, B, and C. But I'd like to add a D that basically gives the staff and the applicant permission to
We have a motion, example motion number one, with an added subsection D that allows the staff and the applicant to redistribute the landscaping as needed.
I'll second.
And a second, discussion.
I was gonna say at the staff level, I appreciate that discussion that y'all are having, that like this is how it's supposed to work right here, where staff has to impose the requirements, BZA notices operational details with it, and BZA modifies things a little bit to make it work better. So that's all it takes for the plans. I appreciate you guys doing that.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. Any other business discussion? I need a motion. With a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I'll see you later. Can we get, like a copy of the motion or anything like that, just to know how to or, yeah.
I was gonna ask about the landscape in the front too, but you said there were no lights, I was thinking. Next time you go to a park, trucks, just be nosy, be bored. Especially for the summer. But,
Okay.